Bonjour, I'm Pierre from French Moments, and in this video I will take you for a walk in Ansouilly in Provence, one of France's most beautiful villages. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really supports the channel and helps us bring more amazing content to you. Also, if you haven't already, click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Let's start our discovery walk through Ansouilly from the visitors car park situated at the foot of the village. We will climb through the maze of old streets to the top where the church and the castle are located. As we ascend these steps, we will find ourselves on the Boulevard des Platanes, which we will follow up to the town hall. The houses in the village, built in a semicircle on the southern slope of a rocky escarpment, huddle close together to better shelter from the mistral wind. Here's the town hall of Ansouilly.
Le burger, il est annulé.
We enter the Place des Hôtes. This small square, typical of Luberon villages, hosts a cafe, the tobacconist and other shops. Let's continue along the Rue du Vieux Moulin. And take a right onto the Rue Basse. The streets run parallel to the slope. Very narrow passages connect them, like here the Traverse Esquichot-Couedo. Here's another passage, the Traverse du Musée. It was in Ansouilly that some scenes from Claude Berry's films Jean de Florette and Manon des Sources were filmed. These two films from 1986 are adaptations of the eponymous books by Marcel Pagnol. They were very successful both in France and in English-speaking countries. The scenes filmed in Ansouilly include the preaching, the Christmas Mass and Manon's wedding. The Traverse du Vieux Platane, which, as its name suggests, leads to an old plane tree. We have reached the end of the Rue Basse at the intersection with the Rue de France. Let's climb to the right. In front of us stand the ramparts. This stepped ramp allows us to reach the top of the village. We are at the site of the Grand Portail. This old entrance to the village no longer exists, and the wrought iron cross we just saw commemorates its existence. Let's now walk along the Rue Grande. This lovely old street is lined with beautiful stone houses. The Rue Grande provides access to charming little alleys like the cul-de-sac, the impasse de l'Aubaristier. Here's the Place du Château. Let's go to the other side to get an overview of the square. The large building on the left is the Maison des Consuls. This was where the city council met in the 15th and 16th centuries. The consuls were usually wealthy bourgeois appointed by the lord, tasked with administering the community. The ground floor housed grain silos, an oven and stalls for meat and fish. These were intended to supply the villagers who sought refuge within the castle walls during a siege. We enter one of the most picturesque parts of the village. The watchtower above us was only built in the 19th century. The austere stone facade belongs to the Saint-Martin church. The church is attached to the castle's curtain wall and likely dates back to the late 13th century. This 18th century building is the former presbytery. The parish of Ansouilly appears in texts around the end of the 11th century as a dependency of the cathedral chapter of Aix-en-Provence. Let's take a look inside. The church consists of a nave with 3 bays and a transverse vessel vaulted with a broken barrel vault. The vessel is complemented by a square plan apse flanked by 2 small apses. The altarpiece and paintings date back to the 17th century. On the right, we can access the balcony, a panoramic terrace overlooking the surrounding region from Lourmarin to Cucuron, and ahead of us, the opening towards the Durance on the Villers side. Let's retrace our steps and head towards the castle. The castle of Ansouilly is an iconic site of Provençal heritage. It was originally a military fortress belonging to the powerful family of the Counts of Forcalquier. Their lordship over Ansuy lasted until 1178, when this domain became part of the Sabran family's estate. Then, at the beginning of the 17th century, it passed into the hands of the Escalis family. This noble family from Aix-en-Provence expanded and transformed the castle into a pleasure residence. It is possible to visit the castle during guided tours in the afternoons from April to the end of October. Let's now follow the Rue du Cartel and descend via the Rue des Remparts. The first traces of human occupation of the site date back to ancient times. Greek coins also attest that Ansuy was later populated by Ligurians who traded with the Greek population of Marseille. The village is mentioned for the first time in 963 when Lambert de Rayanne donated the land of d'Ansuy to the abbey of Saint-Pierre de Montmajour near Arles. In fact, Ansuy was located on the road between Aix-en-Provence and Apt. This ideal observation post for controlling the road justified its fortification in the Middle Ages. The first protective enclosure of the village was built in an amphitheater shape during the 12th and 13th centuries. At the top of the hill, the castle had a central keep and was flanked by 4 towers. It bore no resemblance to the Renaissance appearance it has today. Below is the Rue du Petit Portail. For our part, we'll take the Rue du Grand Four and pass through a very quaint part of Ansuy. This arcade leads us to the foot of the belfry. It is in a house here that the Ansuy City Council held its meetings from 1540 onwards. This house later became the Town Hall of Ansuy. Towards the end of the 16th century or the beginning of the 17th century, a belfry was built on top, crowned with a wrought iron campanile. The clock itself was only installed in 1909. And where is this belfry? Well, here it is. We found ourselves again at the Place du Château that we saw earlier. Let's descend the Rue du Petit Portail. As its name suggests, it leads to a small gate. The Portalet is the only remaining gate of the 3 that the second medieval enclosure once had. Let's continue the visit along the Rue du Rocher. We arrive at a charming spot shaded by fig trees. Now let's follow the Rue du Buis, which runs parallel to the Rue du Rocher. Nowadays, the two main economic drivers of the village are the vineyards and tourism. Agriculture plays an important role in the village's economy, with fields of lavender and orchards of olive, cherry, and almond trees. In addition, the vineyards produce AOC Côte du Luberon wines. In terms of tourism, Ansouilly is located south of the Luberon Massif and its tourist sites, such as the perched villages. Ansouilly is part of the Plus Beau Village de France, a French association and certification brand created in 1982 that connects a network of more than 176 villages. Other neighboring villages in the network are Lourmarin, Gordes, and Ménherbe. We find ourselves again at the Traverse Esquichot-Couido that we saw earlier from the Rue Basse. And here we are on the Rue du Petit Portail. Let's turn right to head towards the exit of the old village. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've been to Ansouilly and this part of Provence, I'd love to hear about your visit. Drop a comment below and tell us what you loved about it. We have arrived at the Boulevard des Platanes, and after a few more meters of walking we will reach the car park, our starting point. I hope you enjoyed this walk through the streets of Ansouilly. In any case, it was a pleasure to introduce you to this lovely village in Provence. I'll see you soon for other adventures. À bientôt!